welcome in to the Chafing the Dream podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Autry, with my co-host, Brother Pat. How you doing tonight, man?
Not too bad, actually. Way better than I was on the last episode was just you, but the previous one. I'll get into that when we get into weigh-ins and stuff.
Yeah. Heck yeah. JD gets to be part of the weigh-ins. Have you got your weight yet, JD?
No, I gave up on weighing myself in years ago.
Yeah, go get your ass on the scale. See where you're at. Dropping some truth bombs here. No, man, we appreciate you coming on. For those of you who don't know, JD, or as this episode is called, Justin's Story, is my co-host over at Back in Time Pod. We've recorded a few episodes together. I'd say closing in on probably about 400. So it's weird to have you as like a guest on a different show for me. But how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. My belly is filled with deli, so I don't know if we talk about what we ate for dinner, but
yeah, we can definitely talk about what we ate for dinner. And real quick before we kind of jump into the episode, just to get a couple quick plugs out of the way, you can subscribe right here on this channel if you're watching the live stream, and that's a good way to follow us here on YouTube. But if you're listening to this on the podcast version, just throw us a subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you're listening to this. If you can drop us a 5-star rating, that'll help grow, and retweet us on social media at Chafing the Pod. And yeah, that's the best way to really support us. Now, Pat, I know you've got another podcast, 3-4 podcasts you might want to plug as well.
Yeah, it'd be like that podcast, which I do with my co-host Brian, just an overall topic podcast. It's kind of shooting the shit kind of thing. And then I have the Paranormal Pativity podcast, which is all paranormal, supernatural, aliens, all that stuff. And then the final one I just started is called Let Me Show You Something podcast. I do that with my wife, where we show each other movies that the other one hasn't seen. It's usually something like we can't believe they've never seen. Like we started off the first two with the Karate Kid 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I found out, I tell a funny story at the beginning of the first Karate Kid one. Basically, find out we're in the backyard, and I look up, there's a crane in the back, and I go, oh shit, there's a crane. She goes, what's a crane? I go, a bird, like the crane technique, like the Karate Kid. And she goes, I've never seen the Karate Kid. And I said, why are we married? So
that's hilarious. And yeah, when you first told me the name of the podcast, I was like, "Ooh, that's a little risque." Let me show you something. But you went a different direction, which I like. And I think JD had recommended on the social media there that you should do part 3, which I agree, because part 3 is definitely superior to 2.
Oh yeah.
Really?
No?
Oh. I like 2 way better.
Wow.
Let me show you something. Terry Silver action.
Yeah, I love Terry Silver.
I that is actually the next one that we're going to do is Karate Kid 3. I told her we just open up with the first 3. But yeah, that is going to be the next one. So, but we just dropped Karate Kid 2 just earlier this week. So that one probably won't come out towards the end of the month.
Cool. And
yeah, when you said you
go
thought,
ahead.
I was going to say, when you said you thought you were that Let Me Show You Something meant something else, I'm saving that one for the OnlyFans.
Let me give him a little sneak peek as he puts his foot up to the screen.
Now this is what I always say. Like I used to tell people, I need to become a male stripper and make some money. They're like, you're going to strip? I said, yeah. Whether they pay me to keep my clothes on or take them off, I'm getting paid.
There you go. Good man.
JD, tell the audience a little bit about Side Piece.
Side Piece is actually pronounced Side Quest. It's a journey that I do with co-hosts Jeff and Eric, where we do all things Nerdcast and Gasm. Discuss movies, TV shows, board games, video games, music, whatever the side quest of the night is, we dive on into it. So Side Quest Pod, give us a shout out, give us a 2-star review, and we're not going to ask for much more than that.
Yeah, you can follow them at SideQuest Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, I love the Nerdgasm. Is it Batman Forever, where Jim Carrey drops the Nerdgasm line?
I think you're onto something there, Kyle.
I believe you are. Right.
All right. Love it.
Now, every time you say about the 5 star review, all I can think about you doing the Spinneroonie, doing the 5-star review.
Oh, Kyle's coughing.
I'm coughing up a lung over here. But, obviously we'll get into the topic of today in just a minute. But, Pat, you kind of lay the groundwork for where we're going next. So let's get a little update. What's going on? We'll do a little cheat of the week. We'll do our weigh-ins, kind of see where we're at here.
So as far as cheat of the week, I can definitely say that was Mother's Day.
Okay.
We went and got La Piñata, which is a local Mexican restaurant here, and we had rice, beans, tamales, tacos. It was a full smorgasbord. So that was definitely my cheat of the week. It was, and well, then the next night we took my mother-in-law out and we had some more Mexican food, but I had a lot a lot lighter food that night. I just basically had like some carne asada. I laid off all the extra stuff, but definitely my cheat. But as far as weight goes, I weighed myself actually this morning, and I've gotten down to 465.
There we go. Down 7 pounds.
Yep. I unfortunately had gained a lot of weight, and so now I'm back down.
Right. So you're almost back down to starting weight again. We're getting close. I love it.
Good.
Thank you. What I did too was basically the last 2 days to make up for those other 2 days has been basically all liquid breakfast and lunch, and then a light dinner.
How have you been feeling when you get to dinner time?
A little cranky.
Yep.
But as soon as I eat, I'm fine. It hasn't been too bad. Yesterday or today, I should say, I did go and get like a snack, like a yogurt kind of thing. I kind of felt like I needed a little bit of boost just to get home. So, like I said, it was like one of those like Greek yogurts, like real small. So it wasn't like super heavy or anything, but just something to get in my system.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad we're back moving in the right direction here.
Mm-hmm.
JD, you have anything specific over the Mother's Day holiday or anything, any little treat that you consider like your cheat of the week?
He just muted himself.
You're on mute though. There you go.
Am I good? Stop muting me.
And now he muted himself.
There we go. So we had Mother's Day with my family. We had Mexican as well, and I had a very fried flauta. But when I try to, when I do eat bad, to portion myself accordingly. So I only ate half of it. So is that a good start?
That's a really good start.
Well, like I was telling my brother, he's actually dropped a lot of weight from the last time when he was on here, and he's actually not that far from his goal for his to get his surgery.
Cool.
The only thing is he has to wait till I think August before his job will allow him to have the time off. But he was tripping out about that. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to have the tamales. I don't want this. I'm going to make myself something else." And I'm like, it's not going to kill you to have one meal. I understand if you want to stay on your what you've been doing, but it's not going to kill you. One meal isn't going to hurt you. Like we talked about cheat days. It's like it's not, or cheat meals. It's not a day. It's a one meal. And if you have one meal, it ain't gonna throw you off. Like that's what I was trying to tell my wife too. Like she when we went to Reno, we had we ate one night. I think we had In-N-Out when we were out in Reno like 2 weeks ago, and she was tripping about it. I'm like, Crystal, that ain't gonna hurt you. One meal is not gonna hurt you. Sure enough, we came back. She maybe gained a pound, if anything, but like I said, it wasn't. And then she already lost it 2 days later.
Yeah. No, I think you make a good point, and portion control, like JD said, is huge when it comes to those cheat meals. Like, you don't want to have like 7 pancakes on your cheat day. But I don't know. The Rock does it. He does pretty well though. But you better burn about 15,000 calories a day, like he does, to have those epic cheat days.
Yeah, I was also going to say though, the Rock gets up at 4 a.m. is in the gym for about an hour or two, and then does whatever he has to do, and then goes back and working out. So a little
Pat,
bit different.
Hit us with the eyebrow if you wouldn't mind. There
it is. Oh yeah, sexy.
So my cheat of the week was on Mother's Day. We ended up getting ice cream late at night, so I had one scoop of cookie dough ice cream. So it was pretty good. Actually, I don't think I finished it right off the bat. I ate like maybe half and then finished the rest the next day. So yeah, I've just been trying to do little things like that just to kind of break up the monotony of eating eggs and chicken every single meal. so that worked out. As far as the weight goes, last time I weighed in, which was solo, I was 321, but when I weighed that day, I had not eaten. It was like 1:30, and I had done 2 hours of yard work. So I feel like I lost like 5 or 6 pounds of fluid because I was sweating like crazy.
Yeah.
Because the next day I weighed myself, I was right back to where I was the last weigh-in, which was like 327. So I'm actually down to 321 now with being fully hydrated. So I'm at the same weight I was last time. And that is 81 pounds down.
Awesome.
So
you really see it in your face, man. I almost didn't recognize you.
Well, I've had a few things like that lately, which is funny that you brought up the face, because I went in to fill out my son's like summer school application, and he's been going there since he was like 3 years old, and my mother-in-law was the director there for 40 years, so like they know me. And I went in, I was like, yeah, can I get the summer school form? They're like, oh, we're all filled up. And I'm like, not for us, you're not, though, because he goes here every year. And that's like part of her retirement is her grandkids get to go there. And she's like, well, let me talk to the director. We'll get back to you, blah, blah, blah. And then I called my mother-in-law. Like, they told us they were full. And she was like, let me make a call. And she's like, yeah, they didn't recognize you. Nobody knew who you were. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, he must have lost a bunch of weight because we didn't see Kyle in there today. I'm like, huh. All right. I didn't think it was that dramatic, so I'll take it when I can get it.
So where's the other half of you?
We did do family photos though, and I'll post them on the social media pretty soon once I can get the new ones back. But I had looked at the ones from last year, and I was like, I look like a blimp. And I was like, whoa, who's that guy? Like 4 chins. Now I'm down to 2. So, yeah. Well, hopefully, I don't know if I'll ever lose this. That might be there for life. I call it the gobbler.
You gotta do like chin-ups.
Right. I'm just in here working out all day. I'm like, 301. But JD, let's get to your story, man. I don't want to keep you here all night, and these tend to go a little bit because we're kind of diving into your backstory, man. But I guess before we jump in, how you feeling? Any trepidations? What are your feelings, kind of going into talking about you as an adolescent all the way up until like college?
Man, that's a hot tamale to dig into. But I feel good, and I think I've got an interesting story that I'm definitely willing to share. It's something as a male, I think that there's a lot of reverse sexism when it comes into the idea of playing sports and wanting to gain weight. And then as you grow up into an adult and being like, okay, I just put on 100 fucking pounds. Now I have to lose this. What the hell do I do?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm no trepidation. Let's rock and roll.
So when you were little, like, what was the first time or first moment you can think of where somebody said something to you, or you felt like, man, I'm starting to get a little chubby here?
So for what it's worth, I was a decent sized, like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. I started to go the husky route.
Yep.
And that's when I started to get picked on. I was bullied very much for third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. It wasn't until eighth grade that I sort of broke out of my shell and became a semblance of the human that I am now. But man, like I was a lightning rod for bullies in grade school.
Was it mostly because of the weight that you were getting picked on?
Also, I would wear sweatpants to school, had a really bad haircut, and glasses.
Ooh, the trifecta.
I was gonna say I can definitely feel that. Like that was about fourth to fifth grade is when it started for me too, and definitely throughout junior high. I was telling in my story too, I hated junior high. I just absolutely hated junior high.
And I mean, it was tough for me because my family moved around a lot after my parents got divorced, and then my mom remarried, and then we moved out of Chicago, and then into outside Chicago, and we slowly made our way until we finally got out to like the further out burbs, where I landed in sixth grade as a fish out of complete water. And like sixth grade was horrible for me. I was just this chunky fat kid with a bowl haircut and really bad gold glasses. And I got picked on by everybody.
What was a typical diet like for you when you were, in that range, like third to seventh grade? Like, what were some of your vices?
A lot of Butterfingers. That was my candy to go to. The Nutty Buddies from Little Debbie's.
Love those.
Yeah, I loved me a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
Bring 1 to 2 packs of those with lunch. Doritos didn't help. Pop. I used to drink soda pop, Pepsi. Pepsi was my jam. Mountain Dew a little bit, but there was one time when I drank so much Pepsi at this like gathering that I threw up because I had like 8 cans of Pepsi and I just couldn't handle it. No alcohol, just straight Pepsi.
I had about 13, 14 Dr. Peppers. Well, Forrest Gump for you. Yeah, the Nutty Buddies, man, I don't know, Pat, were you a Nutty Buddy guy? Because I definitely remember having those packed into my lunch. They had like it would be like a twin pack, right?
Yeah.
There's always 2 of them in there. I would eat the whole thing. I wouldn't break them apart.
Hell yeah.
Chomp
Yeah,
right
there you
into
go.
them.
Yeah, I mean, I liked them, but I didn't. It wasn't like an everyday thing for me. Like that was like more of a treat. Like, oh, you got a Nutty Buddy. Oh, cool. Like, we didn't really.
Yeah, Pat's not a big sweet tooth.
Yeah,
We get into this quite a bit. I'm always like, man, you got to try this. He's like, nah, do I though?
I'm not a sweet tooth fan. Like as an adult, it's not the sweet tooth that gets me. It's the salt tooth.
Oh, yeah.
And with the salt tooth comes the ranch. Yes, the ranch tooth, the pretzel tooth. I can just devour some chips and dips all day.
God, do you remember the pretzels we had at the lake that everybody
Dots.
kept eating? Dots pretzels. You can buy them at Walmart. They're really salty. They have like a real nice seasoning to them. Oh, are those things addicting?
it's the ones that I go nuts on are those ones from Costco. They have the peanut butter in the middle. They're like little squares.
Yeah.
You get the big ass thing, and you're just sitting all day.
Yeah,
Yep.
eating them like crazy. Real quick, JD, favorite Little Debbie treat?
Oh my gosh. I liked them all. Were zebra cakes a Little Debbie? Or was that Hostess?
That might be.
No, I think they are.
Little Debbie.
I think it's Little Debbie.
Either way,
I'll fact check.
Zebra cakes were badass good.
Okay. Pat, what about you?
Probably the zebra cakes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are Little Debbie. I'm a Cosmic Brownie guy.
I've got a very funny Cosmic Brownie story. If I can just tell it real quick, it's not chafing the dream related, but I was at Comic-Con a few years back with a good friend of mine who's also named Justin, and Patrick Mayhew was there, who played Chewbacca. And my buddy Justin went to go introduce himself to Mayhew, and he was eating a Cosmic Brownie. And he was eating it with his right hand, and he did not put the Cosmic Brownie down for the handshake. He did an awkward left-handed handshake.
I remember you telling me that story. Probably on one of our May the 4th be with you episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude loved his Cosmic Brownie.
He's like, I'm not putting this down for nothing.
Now take my giant 7-foot paw. Here you go. All right, man. So you started to kind of come into your own in 8th grade. We're moving into high school. Obviously you're starting to play some football. Is that where things kind of change? Was there like a big growth spurt that happened too?
Yeah, I mean, I parted my bowl haircut. I got contact lenses and got into football. That made a big difference for me, for people accepting who I was. And I realized when I got into football, I can throw my weight around. But with that came, I know this isn't the focus of the podcast, but this is when I started to become a bully myself.
Please tell.
I makes sense to me, because it's that fact that it's you say, well, you've been bullied, so you know how it feels, but then I know that feeling too, where you got the taste of it not happening to you, and you're being on the opposite side of the fence. It's kind of like you want to go take that for a ride.
Yeah, and that's what it was. So like, as I gained in popularity and started to get onto supplements and realized I needed to manage my weight and was bigger and stronger, faster
And wiser.
Faster and
Fulton Reed.
Fulton Reed. Okay. So faster and Fulton Reed. Cool. Yeah, you kind of froze up when you said faster.
No, I get that. I saw, and then Fulton Reed.
Okay. That makes sense. Had a wicked slap shot. Okay. Interesting. And I know you talked a little bit about this. I mean, we've talked about this a lot on Back in Time Pod, but you kind of bullied the bullies, right?
Didn't
you kind of go at, yeah.
We called ourselves alpha bullies. So there was a squadron of maybe 5 or 6 of us that we would also pick out the bullies and pick on them as well. So we bullied everyone. Nice. Equal opportunity.
I love it. How much do you think you weighed in high school?
My freshman year, I was probably about $160.
Wow. Senior year?
260.
Wow. 100 pounds. There you go. That's impressive. Put it on in a hurry. Now, so you move into college, you get a scholarship, you go to Olivet Nazarene. I meet you there a year later. But tell us a little bit, like, obviously when you get into college football, there is an expectation of you to have a certain amount of size. To keep that size, you have to eat a lot of food. And most of the time it's not real healthy for you because it's cafeteria food, right? Sodexo, if you will. So talk a little bit about that and just kind of like what your mindset was, as a football player, and what kind of food you were eating at that stage.
So it was very intimidating coming in, Kyle. I was a year before you, correct?
Yep. So
you missed out on the years of like TY and Lundy and Wheezy.
Yeah.
Like these big old boys. And I came in as a 265-pound freshman. For what it's worth, I was on DECA at the time.
Oh, I did DECA. Cool.
Yeah. I pushed my bench press up to 400 pounds, but I couldn't gain a pound of weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in as an undersized freshman and had no expectations of myself. But I was on kind of an illegal supplement at the time. So
this is news. We've never talked about this.
So when I bought the DECA, it was legal. Decavar.
Yeah.
You bought it over the counter at Gold's Gym.
Can I be honest real quick? I thought you meant DECA, the marketing team in high school. I'm a total dork. I was not on that. So.
Oh, no. Continue. So I'm talking about a supplement that it was like creatine on steroids without the steroids.
Okay.
And so there's Decavar and then there's Decabol. And Decabol is injectable. So it's a steroid. And so there was a time, so I was not injecting anything. I was not doing anything illegal.
Okay.
But the rules changed in about 2003 where Decavar became illegal, and I still had a supply of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it, and I couldn't gain weight, but I gained strength. And so I came into freshman camp and just like impressed a lot of people that just thought I was a punk. Because, I was wearing my backwards hat and I had my basketball jersey on and I was a piece of shit.
Don't play basketball at all, though.
No, never. I can't play basketball for worth the spit of me. And do you remember Paul Berge?
Yeah. Definitely
So
a steroid user. Go ahead, though.
Oh, big, nice guy, big steroid user. And it got around that I was on Deca.
Okay.
And so he corners me one time in the locker room. He's like, I hear you're on Deca. And he's like, you want to buy? And I was like, oh, I'm on Decavar. Like it's just a mouth dropper. He's like, oh, I thought you were shooting up. And I was like, no, not doing that.
Wow. Wow.
And there was a thing
hot.
There was a thing my freshman year where there was a few characters on the football team that were injecting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard about this before, Kyle, but it was like, I won't name names, but there was probably about 8 to 10 cats that were taking steroids, and they were top performers on the team. And there was, I will name this one dude's name because he's a piece of shit and I hate him, but Seth Lewis, who only stayed around for a year. He was gone before you came in.
Yeah, I don't know him.
There was in freshman year of college, you probably did this. It was a intro to speech class where you had to give a speech to like the whole class.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy gave the speech and was like, oh yeah, so-and-so's on steroids and he's on steroids and he's on steroids. So there was a big inquiry my freshman year. And they were drug testing people left and right.
Wow.
And this guy, thankfully, me, was not using steroids, so I didn't get in any trouble.
I was gonna say, did you hide your piss inside the toilet paper roll like in the program?
No, I did it inside of like a strap-on dildo, like in Entourage.
Oh, there you go.
I don't remember you being much heavier than like 265. At any point, do you get heavier than that during college? Maybe 280?
I buffed up to 280 my junior year.
Gotcha.
So that was my big year. That was my freshman year, I was second string for the first 2 games and then was first string after an injury happened. And then I got in trouble with drinking my sophomore year, so I was suspended for the first 2 games. And then my junior year, it was like this big, yes, this is me. I'm coming out. I've had a great off season, pumped up to 280. And then I broke my fucking ankle.
You sure did. Yeah. Gotcha. And then you had the back injury.
I did.
Senior year. So then you got this awful back injury that you're dealing with. And you're like, every time you came out, you were just stretching it out. I can literally remember you like an accordion.
Yeah, it was like a gimmick out of pro wrestling.
Right.
But senior year we moved. My senior year, you were a junior. You recall this? We moved to a zone offense.
Yep. And
it was the worst decision ever to move me from guard to tackle.
My spot. Go ahead.
It was a very bad decision by the coaches.
Yeah.
Because I was entrenched where I was. I was a 3-year starter at guard. They moved me to tackle. I spent the off season. I couldn't put on a lick of weight. I dropped back down to 265. And sure enough, I think it was the second game of the season again, just ruptured all my lower discs in my back.
Oof.
It gets worse, Pat. I was told by the coaches and the trainer, you're good.
Throw some dirt on it. You'll be all right.
Dirt, Vicodin, and Valium did me real well.
Man.
Talk a little bit about your surgery. Eventually what they said there.
So what ended up happening, and so I'm in the throes of just my leg is completely numb. I can't go to class I can't sit up straight. I'm losing weight because I can't do anything, right? I'm useless in terms of on the football field. Kyle did an excellent job of supporting me and being a great teammate for me, and it was made things a lot better. But man, the second we were out of playoff contention, the team doctor came to me and says, "You need surgery on Saturday."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I go into surgery on Saturday. I'm back into class on Monday, and then I'm doing pro wrestling with TCW a month later.
Yeah. Great show. I main evented. Lost, but did run the main event.
Trip Hollywood.
You know it. I'm better than you, and you know it. Now, here's what I'll say about JD. And I don't know if you remember this, but you were in the locker room. I come busting in. I say, if that needle goes anywhere near his leg, so help me God, I'll rip your arms off and beat you to death.
I wasn't there, but I remember that.
Right. And then I said, I'm back. Puke and rally. Wait, that's from a movie. That wasn't me. I did. So when that was happening, and this is one of the, even at small level college football, Pat, that's how crazy these teams are. I mean, we were decently close at that point, not as close as we are now, but like, I had no idea that he's getting shot up. I had no idea that they're telling him he's fine. Like, we're all noticeably like, something's wrong with Justin. Like, he's pretty fucked up. Like,
yeah.
We can't run a play where he doesn't come out and he's like just holding his back and he's like, oh God. I'm like, you good, man? And he's like, no, not good. Just like, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I want your spot, but you might want to sit this one. Like, I was generally concerned for him.
Yeah.
Because he was in so much pain.
It's again, small college football. We're talking about chafing the dream here. So like, we're chasing the dream. We're trying to do the best that we can to get where we can go and try to be the best that we can be. But man, those coaches were our offensive coordinator. Like, I stepped off of the field one time and he's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm in fucking pain. And so he throws the clipboard to the ground and he marched off in anger. And I was like, dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then I needed surgery, like life-correcting surgery. Like, my surgeon told me my spine was 85% impinged, meaning I'm 1, lucky to be walking, and 2, lucky to get an erection.
There. So the best part of that story is not the erection part, but
I was gonna say, is that how you really threw it out? Getting the erection.
So me and him would kind of like platoon early in the year, and I would come in and he would come out, and like there was actually 2 of us. There was a guard and a tackle, and they were like platooning us in. And finally, they pull the pin on JD, and they're like, "Hey, your season's over. We can't have you playing anymore." And I go in there, and I'm like, first game, ready to take over here as the starting tackle for the next 2+ years, because I was only a redshirt sophomore. And broke my hand first game, and that cost me the rest of the season. And then the next year I came back and I was like, so I'm not going to take that redshirt year. I'm going to play 1 year and I'm done. Because at that point the injuries were already piling up for me too, and I had saw how some of the older guys had been treated, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
but that's part of that too, is our own stubbornness as people who play sports. It's just, as athletes, is like, oh, I'm hurt, but the team needs me. Let's go. And you don't think about how it's going to affect you. We're like you said, high school football or college football. We're not being paid pro money. Like, what the hell do we need?
Shit.
What do we need to prove? For
those of you that can see live on video, look at my finger. This is my finger right now.
I know mine are a little crooked, but they're not that bad.
Oh, man.
I would break that bitch about once a week.
So, talking about like coming in for someone and getting hurt, that made me think of a story, and that was it didn't happen to me, So I was the starting center in high school, but I was like the only one that knew like every position on the offensive line and defensive line. And so I get a call from my coach one time, and he's like, "Look, you didn't lose your spot, but we're hurting for linemen. I want you to move over to tackle, and Nick's going to take a start at center." I said, "Okay." So he's all excited. He's juiced up. He had some family come in and everything. He's finally starting at center. We're doing warm-ups. He breaks he dislocates his shoulder.
Oh fuck!
In warm-ups. Bolas, you're going back. You're going back to center. Oh man, I felt bad
That's
for that
incredible.
guy.
Well,
But that's just like I said, that's just how it is with injuries. Like I hurt my knee the very last play of my senior year. The coach thought I was a junior, and he told the nose tackle to take my knee out.
ooh.
Yeah, but everybody's like, "Well, as bad as your knee was, would you have been there next week?" Damn right, I would have been.
Right. Oh yeah, you played through stuff for sure. So you got the 280 pounds. You drop down to 265. Now you're just in constant pain. Can't work out. Probably hard to even walk your ass to the lunchroom to eat half the time. When did you start dropping the weight? Because I remember you losing a significant amount of weight. Even I want to say it was even before your last year of college was over. But maybe I saw you a year later, and I'm just messing up the timeline. But yeah, take us through that a little bit.
So it definitely was spring semester of senior year when I had no obligations and I was just doing therapy and eating on my own terms.
Mm-hmm.
That I just sort of started to lose the weight, and then becoming health conscious. Instead of getting a Coke with dinner, get a water. Instead of getting broccoli and carrots with ranch, just eat them on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Little things like that. And I started to drop the weight, and I probably plunged down to about 240, 230, where I stayed for a little while. And then it was as I continued to grow, I eventually became obsessive about it. So, at one point in my adult life, I was down to about 190.
Oh, wow.
I remember 190, JD.
Yeah, and it was like I would not eat anything. If I did, I would contemplate throwing it up.
Ooh.
We're talking reality here, right?
Yeah.
And it was like I would not do anything. I was exercising ridiculously religiously, and it sort of threw me into like an anxiety fueled depression where I had to let go of all of that and just accept who I am, which is where I am now today. But it took a lot of fighting to get there, where it's like, that's why I don't weigh myself, because it's like, yeah, okay, I'm a little overweight. I'm a little husky still. A large shirt is a little tight. But
I love to pick on you for your shirts.
it took a while, but now my wife and I, we eat paleo.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1 to 2 cheat nights a week.
Yes, question?
That's paleo.
Yeah, explain it.
So
last podcast, we got to know it.
So our diet, we try to stick to no sugars,
Okay,
and no carbs,
okay,
and no corn, no beans. The idea is paleo diet is what they ate in paleo times.
okay.
Caveman diet.
Caveman diet, yes. Yep. It's very similar to keto.
So a lot of hot dogs.
Well, more so like a lot of meatloaf.
No, yeah.
A lot of eggs with turkey bacon, kind of a thing. And
so it's like a keto kind of diet, but you still keep certain things in it that you said low carbs, but you're still eating some carbs.
Well, like I said, we have 1 to 2 days a week where we'll get, like I had, like I said, a pastrami on rye tonight for dinner. Mm-hmm. Hit the spot. Normally, it would just be a plate of pastrami without mustard, and then you're just eating this boring meat.
Okay, yeah.
When's the last time you weighed yourself?
I don't want to get too serious with you, but I will say the last time I weighed myself was in 2010.
Wow. Wow, that's been a
No,
long
that's a
time.
lie. That's a lie. That it would have been 2012.
Okay. I mean, still,
Which
that's
is still a
almost a
long
decade.
time. But I went through, like I said, a lot of emotional instability for a while. Dealt with a lot of depression.
It's crazy how just the thought of having to go jump on the scale can give you anxiety, even if it's just you and the scale in the bathroom. Like I went to the doctor's last Friday for something, and they're like, "All right, jump on the scale," and I looked at her like, "Oh, okay, okay," and I knew what it was going to be. But still, it's like the anxiety of just jumping on that scale.
Yeah, it's tough, and again, like I said, it pushed me down a dark path. And thankfully, I've got great friends like Kyle through my life, and now Pat, you in my life, and you guys, and podcasting is turned a corner for me where I'm just like, okay, I can weigh 220 and be a little and be okay. I don't need to be under 200.
I mean, honestly, the weight I would love to get back to would be about 250 because get out of high school, I was about 255. And that was also, right out of high school, right out of always lifting and everything. So more muscle than fat. And I told Kyle before, but in my head, I was still the fat kid from elementary school and junior high who always got picked on. That mentality, like I have more confidence in myself now at the weight that I am, where I shouldn't, than I did back when I was actually in shape. If you look at a picture of me when I was, coming out of high school, in my head, I still had problems. I was still the fat kid, and I would love to be back at 255, even without the muscle, just to be in that range. I just think about how dangerous I could have been if I had the confidence and the ideals the way I think now with that body.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about, like, I mean, really, it's like your battle against the scale, because I think that's really relatable. I know a lot of people go through that with weight loss, and even people that don't need to lose weight, people that are really skinny, that struggle with anorexia and stuff. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I don't want to get on the scale because what if I gained a pound today?
Mm-hmm.
So that's. I haven't had those exact type of struggles, but I definitely deal with a lot of that. Like every time I get on, I'm like, how's this going to go? Like there's always that little bit of anxiety as the numbers are like trickling. And I'm like, I always have like the Biggest Loser thing going through my head. I'm like, and his current weight is, and like it pops down. And I'm like, God, did I do all that work and not lose a single pound? Like it really does screw with your head.
It does. And, and I like what you just said because it applies to somebody that weighs 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds, 400 pounds, 500 pounds. Everyone deals with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For sure. Man, so that's great. And I don't know if I'll ever get to that point because I feel like I kind of have to know what I weigh, because if I don't, left to my own devices, I go back to 400 pounds, and I don't want to ever go there again. So
that brings me to an interesting question of something that I'm dealing with personally, that I kind of want both of your input on. When it comes to motivation, what do you guys deal with? What do you see? Like, I wanted to go on a bike ride today and I didn't.
I know for me it's just to get healthy. I mean, the wife and I are trying to have a kid right now and definitely want to be around for if she does get pregnant. I got a bunch of nephews, I have a bunch of nieces, and just thinking, not wanting to miss out on their lives. And I think about it like too, as high as weight as I got, it's like I don't want I never wanted to get to that point where something stupid as in just walking up the stairs gives me a heart attack and dying, and my mom or dad have to bury me. And
hide your porn.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why no one has the password of the OnlyFans. But I mean, I think about that. Like, I was just actually thinking about this the other day, and I was talking to my wife about it. Is so all the gyms closed, and that stopped us from going to the gym. Well, then my brother-in-law and I went house on a home gym that's in the backyard, and I was on it, and I stopped, and I told my wife, I go, that thing's sitting in the backyard, and I think the last time I used it was 2 weeks before we went on vacation. That's just, that's just pathetic. It's just thinking of, part of it's routine too. Like when that routine gets cut, it just really screws you up. And to me, it's more routine than motivation. Once I get the motivation is to get the routine going again. I mean, I used to get up at 5 a.m, go to the gym for an hour, change, and go to work. And when the gym's closed, now I get up at I sleep in for that extra hour, and it's like trying to get up before that is almost kills me. And it's like, but you did it for 2 or 3 years. You're getting up an hour before work, and you went and did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more. I think the motivation is to get the routine going, because once the routine goes, it's just part of your daily what you need to do.
Yeah. I like that. And just to kind of like piggyback on that, for me, anytime that I've been part of classes like workout classes, or even talking with my son's baseball team, they're 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Guys, the hardest part about today is you showing up. It's the hardest part of getting to the gym, is deciding to go to the gym. It's not the workout. I mean, you're a former college athlete. You can get on a bike and go bike 20 miles. I mean, the hardest part is deciding to get on the bike and just start doing it. I struggled with that last month. I think I went to the gym one time. I had plans to go to the gym almost every day. So, if the month was 31 times, I failed 30 times out of 31 on pushing myself to go to the gym. And I mean, shit, you don't even have to go that long. Go for a half hour. I jump in the pool because I'm still dealing with some shoulder issues. So I jump in the pool for 30 minutes. How hard is that? It's not.
Yeah.
It's the mental battle of I got to do this. I got to do this. Just decide to do it and do it. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So to answer your question.
No, I mean, it's a difficult thing. Like you said, that's great advice that you're giving to the kiddo about just diving in, jumping into the pool and just doing it. The hardest thing. So I know for me, it's like once I put my feet on the pedals,
you're good.
I can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 miles, but it's just like that motivation and then the excuses. The excuse, it was a little cold today, so I didn't go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I want to start setting some goals for myself on a monthly basis of how much time I'm in the gym, how many times I go, and just making sure I hit it. So that might be something you can do too. Hey, this month I'm going to bike 10 times. Doesn't matter if I do it 10 times in a row or if I space it out every 3 or 4 days. I'm biking 10 times this month.
Yeah, I like that. And it's so crazy because, we talked about high school sports and college sports, and it was that was so easy to do when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember the schedule that I had kept for myself, and it was just okay, I'm going to go jump rope for an hour now. And then that's what I would be doing from 9 to 10 p.m., just jumping rope.
I haven't jumped rope in a hot minute.
I tried jumping rope
a while.
I tried jumping rope the other day, and my gut wasn't too happy with it.
That's why my fast feet had me on the field, Kyle.
That was your trick. Those quick feet.
Quick feet.
Also, the Mark Ptolemy move where you would practice blocking blindfolded. Remember that?
Well,
Where he'd be like, just pick a shoulder, and he'd close his eyes, and as soon as you touched his shoulder, he'd punch with either hand. That's how he worked on his pass blocking, and then he'd try to steal money from you later on. But that is what it is.
It's like that episode of Game Changers. Get on the ice with the blindfolds.
Right. Oh gosh.
So you were saying that you said you were coming in your own in 8th grade and you had the issues in elementary and junior high. How was high school for you? Like, did it like kind of settle with the teasing or whatever, or did you still have some problems with in high school?
No, that's when I settled into being a bully.
Okay.
Like as I got into sports, as I started to lifting weights, as I started growing from 5'8" to 5'9" to 5'10" and shooting up. Not drugs, not shooting up drugs.
I started cutting lines, not lines of coke, but in the lunch line.
No, like once I started realizing, it's like in Space Jam when the Monstars realized that they don't need to be bullied by Danny DeVito anymore. Swackhammer, I think his name was. But he's bigger than we used to be.
Yep.
That's what my high school was. And I was like, oh, so then it was just like game on, like just shoulder checking kids in the hallway. I literally gave a kid a swirly once.
We did that too, but that was because they kept messing with one of our friends and would not leave her alone. So we warned him, and he didn't want to stop. So,
and giving a swirly is actually it's not an easy thing to do. Very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go quietly into the night like the turds do. Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I don't have anything else for JD, man.
So, well, I think you said it was 290 the highest you ever went. I'm sorry, you cut out.
280.
Oh, 280 was the highest.
Down to 190, so 90 pounds.
I wish it was 290. I drank every Coca-Cola and did every ounce of creatine to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, and that's what I think people need to realize too. Is like when people say they're overweight, it doesn't have to be like the size that Kyle and I got to, right? Over 300, getting over 400 pounds. Like it's like 280. Like I'm thinking of myself at 255. That's where that's my goal to be around, and just 30 more pounds, or 25 more pounds was overweight for you. It's like it's where you feel most comfortable at. So it's like everybody should just have that goal, just that with their happy weight, and
And that's what I think is so great about what you guys are doing with your podcast, because everyone's journey is different. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've known people that have weighed 100 pounds and they've thought they were obese.
I still have friends like that even recently, like on Facebook, and they're just like, I'm so overweight right now. I'm like, you're 15 pounds overweight. At most, you're 15 pounds overweight. It's like, come on.
You were standing behind a pole and I didn't see you. What are you talking about?
It's like, I've got 200 pounds to go, but like it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, whether it's 15 pounds or 200 pounds, like mentally, you probably feel the same way. And I think that's my big takeaway from this is everybody should throw away their scales. JD can expect a cease and desist anytime from Weight Watchers because they make a lot of money on scales. But no, I think that if you can get to that happy place and not be a slave to the scale anymore, that's a huge, huge win.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
all right, man. Well, just a quick plug while we're putting this out, and everybody's probably listening to this in the morning or later in the day. If you want to hear more of JD and myself, we will actually be back on YouTube tomorrow night talking about our top 5 slasher movies from the 1980s. Should be a fun episode, so tune in for that over at the Back in Time podcast channel. Pat, what do you have coming down the pipeline?
Well, we just put up a new episode of It Be Like That podcast. It went up last Saturday. And I'm actually working on what I'm going to do next for Paranormal Pat. So we'll see there. And then, like I said, I forgot the name of it already.
Podcast.
Yeah, let me show you some podcast. will be Karate Kid 3 will be the next one that
Hell
we
yeah.
Looking forward to that one. And then check out SideQuest. I'm sure has podcast getting ready to drop this week. So check out the SideQuest pod on social media. And then in the meantime, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that already. But we are out of here. Thank you guys for listening to another episode. We'll be back. I'm hoping Pat will join me, but for sure I'll be back next week because my sister is coming on the podcast, and she had gastric bypass surgery close to a year ago. So she's coming up on a year. She's lost a ton of weight, and she's going to come on and tell her story.
Awesome.
So that's going to be our next episode.
Cool.
All right. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Later.